Hi everyone, for our vlog today, we'll be playing around with the brushes that I got at the brush festival, and I am concentrating on showing the brushes that I got from the outlet. I am hoping that in doing this video, it can give you an idea of even if these brushes are outlet and they may be some quality issues with them, they're still actually good, and maybe in the future, if you go to the brush festival, me playing around with this can also pique at your interest, and it can give you an idea if you're going to purchase some brushes from the outlet or you're going to purchase brushes from the regular collection from these brush manufacturers. Okay, yeah, so looking at what I have here right now, they are all primarily face brushes. So I have these two brushes, which looks like they belong to the Passion series of Chikuhodo. This belongs to the PF series of Chikuhodo. And I also have some brushes here from Koyudo. What else? I also have these brushes, by the way, from Chikuhodo. So now looking at all of these brushes right now, I'm astonished to see, I can't believe it that they're considered to be outlets and they are considered to be of bad quality. Like example, these four brushes alone, I'm looking at them and I'm trying to eyeball them, and I cannot see any discrepancy with the manufacturing. The shapes are fine, and I can't believe that they're considered outlet releases. But if there's anything though, this puff brush from Chikuhodo, when I'm looking at it, really looking at it, there's really some error in the way this brush was actually made. So I hope that this will still work for me and it'll just still deliver a very nice even finish on the face. Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a hint of foundation on my skin, and I'm going to be using, well, the foundation brush I'm going to be using today is this PF4 brush from Chikuhodo. So this one is not a outlet bought brush, but the main reason why I am using this now is because we have this outlet brush and I think they will go very well together, and this is actually the main reason why I actually bought this. Okay, so I am going to be using also cream foundation for us today, so I actually need a stronger, thicker, and a bigger brush to actually apply this on my face. Okay, so let me just get a few colors from my palette here. This is actually the MAC full coverage foundation, and I'm going to be mixing two colors today, and I am hoping that I can match my skin. Okay, all right, so I'm so happy, by the way, that the sun is out today because there was a storm here a few days ago, and I couldn't do anything much. I'm still about to upload my vlog for my trip report on Japan Airlines, and I just have some trouble doing some voiceovers over that because the rain was just very strong, and there's also another storm coming in, and I'm also a little bit worried because my partner and I are also about to head to our home in the province, because we're about to celebrate All Souls Day and All Saints Day, so it's a Christian kind of a celebration. And we're also glad that we're going at this time. We consider it good timing because we have to check the damage in our house there from the storm that just passed. So according to our property manager, everything is in good condition. There's just a few minor damages, but nothing we have to be very worried about. Okay, so we're glad about that. Alright, so I'm just going to add a hint of this foundation onto my face. So this color is actually an olive undertone, and I love using this color first, as a undertone color before I apply a much more lighter shade of foundation. And I love using the PF4 for very thick, heavy cream foundations because they just really do the job of spreading the product fast and evenly throughout my skin. Okay, and let me get a lighter shade, and this is the color that I'm going to use in the middle of my face just to brighten everything. Now, I've also noticed that I didn't actually purchase a lot of eyeshadow brushes at this time. And the main reason why is because I met up with Fude BoBo, if you've been following me here on my channel, and she gave me a lot of eyeshadow brushes. So I just didn't feel the need at all. Especially she gave me the Koyudo BoBo eyeshadow series, which was like an amazing brush set. And if you are looking to find a very luxe eyeshadow set, do check that out. I have a vlog of that I released a few weeks ago, so I'm gonna put a link down in the description box so that you guys can check it out. Okay, so but at this point though, I have also decided that I am going to insert some of the brushes that I purchased at the brush festival from years ago, and this is one of those brushes. And as you guys can see by the handle design of this, it looks like a refer brush, but I have not seen this type of a brush on the refer website. Maybe this was a prototype and it wasn't approved, and maybe that's why I saw this at the festival grounds. I might have seen this at the Mizuho outlet shop or Koyudo. I really can't remember. That was a long time ago. I think this was in 2018, I think 2019, I'm not sure even. Okay, so I'm just adding whatever is left of the lightest shade of foundation. I think this is NC35 here in my under eye area, and this will be like my concealer of sorts. I also love this brush because it's like a small version of the puff brush, and it's a little bit flat and round, but it's kind of like thick in the middle here, so it really does have some resilience and strength to really blend out and to buff out the color. So whatever is left here on my brush, I'm just going to buff everything and to blend everything out. Okay, so I'm quite happy with my foundation. Love it. And I kind of like the light that I'm having today. It's a little bit later in the afternoon and the angle of the sun is hitting differently, especially at this time of the year. And I kind of love it. But I actually have a mix of artificial light with us today because I just want to even out the lighting, especially when the actual sunlight is coming from this angle. Okay, so that's just me yapping. Right, so right now I am going to be using this MAC NC35 with this puff brush, and I'm just going to use this in a puff kind of a manner wherein I'm applying a tapping motion just so that I would set the cream foundation that I applied. Oh, I can see some fallout. Okay, so which is always expected because it's a new brush. And I am hoping though that it's not going to be an excessive type of fallout, because if it is going to be an excessive type of fallout, I don't think I'll be able to use this brush much, because that means the bristles are not being held in place by the glue. And I just love how I'm actually able to really set my face, and you can really see on how matte it looks now. But I do have to say that it's not making me look cakey at all, because after all, this is a powder foundation and it is on top of a cream foundation. Now when I am tapping the brush head here on my skin, I can feel a little pricking sensation, especially when I really press the brush head into my skin, but it's really not uncomfortable. But if you are someone who has sensitive skin, this might be an issue for you, so just be wary, okay? Alright, so as you guys can see, this is how this brush applied powder foundation on the side of my face. I do have to say that I actually don't see any residual powder on the brush head here, no staining whatsoever. That's actually quite surprising, because I wasn't expecting that, because after all, really pressing the brush head into my skin, so it means that it does pick up these very hard pressed kind of powders very well, and it delivers it amazingly well as well. I like it. Even coverage. I didn't see any disturbance that the brush created on my foundation, so now I'm thinking that maybe I should get the actual regular brush instead of this outlet brush. But so far, I'm still quite surprised. Even if it's not a perfect circular shape, it's actually still able to apply a nice, well-blended, even amount of color on my face. Okay, love it. Okay, so I actually want to see how this brush will apply some setting powder on this side of my face. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of this Laura Mercier into the cap here. And I'm going to be using this brush. Okay, I'm just like, really pressing the brush into the cap. And I do have to say that the shape is actually quite fluffy and airy. It's like, it's like an ovoid, I do have to say. Look at that. Look how very nicely shaped it is. And I'm still quite surprised on why this brush is actually still like, being sold in the outlet. Nice delivery of powder. It looks very even, no patchy application of color. So I can still see, like, the natural radiance of my skin peeking through. And by the way, this brush head is made of Sokoho goat hairs, dyed Sokoho goat hairs. See how the brush head just like, bends so nicely onto my skin. You don't see it tugging on my skin. Unlike this brush here, because it's very dense, of course, when I do that, you can see it tugging. So again, if you have sensitive skin, this might be an issue for you. But with this brush, no tugging whatsoever. And I can also see that's actually able to buff out the color or the powder from the skin. So if you're someone who's looking for a, let's say, a powder brush, which is quite affordable and which is like, nice and airy and fluffy and also strong enough to actually apply and deliver and buff out powders, especially loose powders, you should check out the Passion series from Chikuhodo. Now, I believe this is the powder brush. I just don't know what the number is. I think this is the PS1, I think. I'm not sure because I'm not so familiar with the PS series of Chikuhodo, but I'm going to put everything on the description box, okay? And I'm also surprised to see that there was no fallout coming from this brush. I love it. Alright, so since this brush is like, way too big, I wasn't able to set my under eye area with some powder. So I'm gonna be getting this brush. So I picked this up a few brush festivals ago. And this belongs to Mizuho, and this has like, pine squirrel in it. Yes, pine squirrel is also one of my most favorite squirrel types of bristles, because I find that they have more like, blending ability. It's not as soft as, let's say, a red Canadian squirrel or like even a blue or gray squirrel. And I kind of love this, like, the way that they buff out the color, the way they spread out powder. It's actually quite good. So again, there's no label whatsoever. I think this is the MB120 if my memory serves me right. And by the way, this was marketed as an eyeshadow brush, like an all-over eyeshadow brush. So if you are looking for a pine squirrel brush of this size, either for applying eyeshadow or for setting powder in the under eye area, check this out. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to try the blush brush now. Okay, so I will be first using this one. So this is a matte blush from Laura Mercier. I love this color. This is Bellini. And I'm really pressing the brush head into the pan. And this is how much product it picks up. A little bit uneven with the pickup, but I think that's my fault on the way that I actually landed the brush on the pan. I'm just going to remove some excess here at the back of my hand. And I'm going to press it. Now the brush head shape of this is very round, which I love. And I'm actually able to apply color in a very precise, like, part of the face. And I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it here on the mirror that I'm actually applying way too much product on my face, but I'm actually able to buff it out. Now I just kind of forgot, like, in the moment, that this was also made of Sokoho goat hairs. So this is more perfect to use with, like, baked gelée types of blush formulas, or like, those hard pressed types of blush powders, because this Laura Mercier color here, Bellini, this is actually very soft and you don't really need a strong brush for that. But I'm just so glad to see though that I'm actually still able to buff out the color, to blend it out. And again, I'm so surprised on how soft the bristles is, no prickling sensation whatsoever. And it's just like, really buffing out the color nicely. And also it's placing the color in a very precise location on my cheeks, keeping it high here. And I love that. I see a fallout now of a bristle. Let me remove that. So let me pick a hard pressed kind of a blush. So I have here my very old blush palette, and I'm just picking up this NARS Orgasm here, but this is still from the original formula, okay? So I still have to get the new formula, so like in a few weeks I'll do that when I visit one of the NARS stores here. Okay, so I can see that I have the NARS blush here. So this is how much product it picks up. So the NARS blushes are more like hard pressed. So I'm actually glad to see that I was actually able to pick up just the right amount, and I was able to layer it into this Bellini blush from Laura Mercier, and like they're mixing very well. And with the brush that I used earlier, I'm just going to add a little bit of some loose setting powder just to blend everything together. So the shape of this is perfect for like a very nice precise application of color, and it also has a very nice buffing ability, and the size of this is just like actually perfect to really land color into your cheeks. This is very nice. I am so like kicking myself on why I just got this brush now, because like I've been peeking at the Passion series from Chikuhodo for a very long time. Like one of my most favorite eyeshadow brushes is the PS4. It's a small like eyeshadow brush. Let me go get it, so let me show you guys. Okay, so it's actually this one, and I love the shape of this. Fits perfectly in my eyelid, especially in this position. It really encompasses my entire eyelid, and it really helps you to apply color all over the eyelid in one time, and it's also able to apply the color well into my socket line here. I love this brush. So again, if you guys can see, the color is very much the same. Okay, look at that. Okay, right, so I'm so happy on how this brush actually applied blush on me today. Okay, so I am going to buff out the brush here now on the microfiber towel just to remove any excessive color, and let's try other formulas. Okay, so this is my Hourglass, what do you call this, Lighting Edit Bronze and Highlight Palette. Now this one was a limited edition release early this year, and I hope they bring this back because I love the palette here, and I think this was a much more better release than what they released for the holiday season this year. But anywho, that's just me. Okay, so I am going to be trying some of the bronzing colors here, and I would like to try to use this color first, and I'm using the PS2 maybe. So again, I'm not sure of the numbering, and let's see if this brush will actually apply bronzer products very well. So I'm just landing the brush here on top of my cheekbones, and I kind of love the fact that I'm able to be precise with this brush. And I also love it that when I press the brush head here, the outer bristles are already splaying out, and it's also blending out the color already, and it's helping me to buff it out. And I don't get a very strong amount of bronzer on my cheek. I love that. Nice and precise. And then maybe let me get this finishing powder here, still with the same brush. Is this a finishing powder? Yes, it's a finishing powder in Soft Light. And let me apply that on top of my cheekbones and blend it into the bronzer. Hmm, that did very well. I was not expecting that. Able to blend, and I also did not pick up a ton of product, which is very surprising for me again, because again this is made of Sokoho goat hairs, and Sokoho goat hairs are actually quite strong, and they have a tendency of picking up a ton of pigmentation. But then again, this is a baked formula, so we're not getting too much product, and for some reason this brush is actually able to pick up the right amount and to deliver the right amount and to blend it out into the face. Look at that. Look at how nice this finishing powder blended into the bronzer onto my cheeks. We have this very nice soft kind of a, like, look going on. I love that. Okay, let me try this bronzer now. So I'm just playing around here. Ooh, it picked up quite a good amount. So let me just remove the excess here at the back of my hand. And let me apply that on top of my cheekbones. So I'm just layering colors now, not going overboard. This brush did really blend out colors very nicely. And again, quite surprised on how soft it is and also on how effective. But it's quite strong, okay? When I say soft, like, I don't mean like the bristles are very floppy, things like that. But it's actually like, it caresses the skin quite nicely. And I'm also quite light-handed with my, application of makeup, by the way. So maybe that's why. But, it has, strength at the core, in the middle. So it has, great buffing ability. And this also goes the same, by the way, for the powder brush here. Nice playing. But there is some strength in the core. I'm sure you guys can see that when I press it. There is some resistance at the middle of the brush head here, and the outer bristles really bloom outward, and that just really blends out color effectively. So let's try this translucent baked gelée powder now from Laura Mercier. I'm pressing the brush head here on the pan. We're picking up a good amount of product here, and let me just apply this in the middle of my, in this area of my face. Okay, so I see that it applied a good amount of color, not too much, because these finishing powders in baked formulas, if you overdo it, your face is gonna look cakey. Okay, so right now that I am I'm running this brush again on my face, I am feeling a little bit of some texture now on the bristles. So again, we have to be very wary. So if you have sensitive skin, you might try and look for a different kind of a brush, maybe one from the Takumi series, because that has a coho goat hair. But if you have regular skin, a little bit oily or combo, and then you don't have sensitive skin, this brush is absolutely perfect for you, because it will not pick up the oils from your skin or from the makeup. And mind you, I used a cream foundation today, so the integrity of the brush head is still in good condition. They're not clumping up together. Again, I'm still surprised on the quality of these brushes, given that they are outlet brushes. Okay, so now let's try this Koyudo angled 3D brush head. Now, look at this brush. It's so beautiful, and again, I'm so surprised that this is an outlet brush. And of course, it looks very similar to the 3D brush from Refer. This is the Saibikoho. This was released holiday last year, so they might come from the same manufacturer. And this is the Koyo brush from Refer. This was released for holiday this year. We put to the side, again, we have the same 3D design, and it gives us an idea now who made the Koyo brush from Refer. So this outlet brush has bristles dyed with persimmon tannin or kakishibu, and I am so excited because ever since I actually experienced using the Koyudo Kakishibuzome brushes, which I have also vlogged about here on my channel, link down below, I have come to appreciate on how amazing these Kakishibu dyed brushes are. And what I'm going to do first though is I am going to be using this Givenchy loose powder blush, And this is in the color Voile Coreal, so it's an orangey blush. And I'm gonna just tap the brush head here on the cap. Okay, picks up a good amount of color. And I'm gonna apply this on top of the bronzer and the finishing powder here on my cheeks. Ooh, look how soft this brush applied this color. So we buff that out and blend it out. Amazing. Now I'm so sad, that after I've tried this, this is not available. I think BoBo, Fude BoBo, had a few brushes in her shop, but I think that kind of like sold out. So I hope though that Koyudo will actually bring this into production because it's actually so good. Look at that. Look at the blending of the color. It's so amazing. Okay, so if this is how this brush actually blended out, like, loose powder blush, I won't be surprised on how well this blush will actually blend out, like, let's say, hard-pressed blushes. So again, let's go back to the orgasm because we have like, a very orangey toned blush going on for today, which was not intentional, by the way. So let me just tap that on top of everything. Blends out beautifully. So beautiful. Look at how soft everything looks here. And look how intense. Oh, so if this is a type of blush application that you want, this brush would have been perfect. Perfect. And I love the size of this. It's actually smaller than the Koyo brush. So if you have a smaller, like, real estate on your face, this would have been perfect. And I love, like, this angled type of a brush head design because it can really help you to be like either sculptural with your application, or it can like really help you to buff it out. And I believe you can also be very precise with it. So let's pick up, let's say, this strobing powder. This is what they call in Hourglass, and I'm just going to use the back portion of the brush here, which is longer and it's usually like, stiffer. And if you apply it in this manner, it's going to apply a very nice amount of highlight, and I'm also able to bring that well into my brow bone. Fantastic. Then let's just blend everything together. Oh wow, I am so happy I got this brush, and I'm just so sad that not a lot of you can get it at this time. But I'm hoping that Koyudo will actually release this, and maybe Fude BoBo might have, like, an idea. So I'm going to try to message her, and if you're watching me and you actually want this, go message Fude BoBo, and maybe she might have, like, the strings to actually, like, pull to be able to bring this to market. Okay. All right, and next we have this kabuki type of a brush from the outlet of Koyudo. Now this one did not have any Koyudo stamping on it whatsoever, but the 3D brush here actually has a Koyudo stamping. So I don't know if this was a planned release that was scrapped last minute because the stamping actually made it to the brush. I don't know, it's all speculation at this point, but I am so happy I got this because it resembles one of my most favorite brushes in the world, and it's actually these brushes from Sonia G. So we have the Buffer Pro here, and we have the Mini Kiyaki Buffer. And when I'm lining up these three brushes together, I could actually see that this brush is more similar to the Mini Kiyaki Buffer in terms of just the way that they actually, like, bloom. They actually bloom quite widely, especially here on the side, because the Buffer Pro here, if you put it here, so you guys can see, it actually, like, blooms a little bit inwards. It doesn't bloom out much. So that's the main difference, okay? And in terms of, like, strength, this brush here has some strength in its core, but it's actually quite, like, it's not as resilient as the Mini Kiyaki Buffer here, because the Mini Kiyaki Buffer Look at that, like, I'm exerting pressure and it kind of like stays in place. Very intentional with your application. Great for like, patting in the color and for buffing everything out. But this one is softer. It's very, very soft. Mm. Maybe that's why it didn't, like, pass the test. But let us see how this brush will work with us today. Right, so I have now the new Givenchy Prism Leave Powder. And just like everybody else, I am actually disappointed on why they actually reformulated this. And I'm doubly disappointed on the fact that I bought a large size because now I don't have any use for it. Because to me, it acts more like as a finishing powder at this point. Okay, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of this powder here in the under eye area. Okay, nice brightening effect. And let me add that here. I'm actually liking on how well this brush actually applied the product in my under eye area. Very good. Okay, so let us now try and play around with some meteorite. Right, so I'm just gonna pound the brush into the tub here. Picks up a good amount of product. And let me apply that here onto my cheekbones first because this is a bronzy shade. This is the color number 3, so this is in warm Torre. And I'm just going to apply this here on my forehead and really buff everything out and blend it out. So in feel alone, the brush head of this brush is actually softer than the Mini Kiyaki Niji from Sonia G, and it splays out more on my face. And I think if you are someone who has sensitive skin and you actually bought the Mini Kiyaki Niji or even the Buffer Pro and you found it to be a little bit too strong for you, this might have been a good option because it's actually softer. And I can actually see that it's still quite effective in actually applying color well into the face. I'm very surprised by this and I kind of love it because I now have different types of resiliency with these types of brushes in my collection, and it can be very helpful. I think I can use these two brushes for actually applying loose powder, or let's say these hard pressed foundation powders, because I need stronger bristles for that, and I can use this for finishing powders, or even very light pressed bronzers. If I just want to have a very nice hint of warmth on my skin, I think this brush is actually perfect. It's also a great brush to buff everything out. I love it. I love this brush. What a surprise! I actually was not expecting this brush to perform this way for me today. Alright, and let's move on to the last two brushes that we'll be trying out for our video today, and it's these brushes that looks like it belongs to the JSN series of Chikuhodo. Now, I've already used this brush before because I love a good spoolie, and I love on how amazingly strong the spoolie is of this brush, because it really holds my hairs and it guides it very nicely, and it can really help me to put every strand of hair in place. But I don't think that you guys should use this for mascara because it's just too strong, and I think you have a mix of different nylons here that just might be painful if you use it to actually apply mascara on your lashes, especially if you have very sensitive eyes. But this one is perfect for the brows. I love it. I actually use this to hold down my brows and to cut longer hairs, and it's just really effective. And I love the length of the brush here, the handle. It's very comfortable to use, very comfortable. Oh, I love this brush. Okay, and now let's try and use this angle brush. So the angle brush here, I believe the bristles might be made of weasel, and the tip here is actually very, very soft. But it's actually still quite resilient. When I'm playing around with the tips here, it snaps back into place quite nicely. But I am finding this to be a little bit too long to actually use it to apply color into the brows, but I'm sure you can actually use it. And unfortunately, I don't use a lot of these types of brushes for eyebrow application, because when I am working or even on myself, I prefer to use eyebrow pens. But for sure, we can actually use this for gel eyeliners. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the gel eyeliner from the pot here. This is from Bobbi Brown in black ink. Then I'm just really pressing the product well into the bristles. It actually holds the product nicely. And let me apply that here onto my upper lashes, or upper lash line. It's very soft, no prickling sensation. It's not uncomfortable, and it actually delivers the pigment quite well. And I'm actually able to deliver color well into the inner corner of my upper lash line, which is actually good in my book because I love applying eyeliners as close to my inner corners as possible, because that just really helps to elongate my eyes. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to apply more intensity now. That was actually not bad. No, I should have bought more. This is so good. I love it. And for sure, I could create a tiny flick for me. Okay, yeah. Nice strength at the belly here. Nice resilience. Very easy to maneuver as well. So for sure, you can actually use this to buff out the color at the edges, especially if you're using gel eyeliners, or if you just want to smoke out nice cream eyeliners. And it can actually help you to create a very nice flick here in the outer area of your upper lashes. I love that. Alright, so yeah, I believe we have come to the end of my vlog for today. So what do you guys think? I'm actually still very surprised on how well these brushes actually worked for me today. I'm still surprised that even if the head of this puff brush here is a little bit deformed, it still applied a very nice amount of powder foundation on my face. Still very even, and I'm sure this can still work for me even if I want to um, level up the coverage. Is actually so good. Now these Passion Series brushes from the outlet at Chikuhodo, still very good. Still very good. So if you are someone who's looking into wetting your feet into the foodie world, check out the Chikuhodo Passion Series, because I think that series is actually a little bit overlooked by a lot of us in the foodie world. So they actually need to feel the love a little bit. And these outlet brushes from Koyudo, amazing. I can't believe they're outlet. And for the quality of what I see now, the design, I I cannot seem to find any sort of quality issue. Maybe with this one, just the shape, it's not round enough, but you can't really discern it, I swear. And with these Koyudo brushes, when I was using it, I didn't have a lot of fallout that I experienced in comparison to the Passion series here from Chikuhodo. There was a lot of fallout, but these ones, not at all. And I love on how soft they actually delivered color into my face. And of course, these two brushes, I love them. Works very well for me. I think I should check out more of the GSN series from Chikuhodo as well. But then again, there's only so much that we could buy because money doesn't grow on trees, okay? Alright, so I'm gonna let you guys go now. If you guys have any more questions about all of the makeup products that I used today, or any of the brushes that I showed you, please let me know down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it, okay? Alright, so that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.